Money, money, money. We all need to know about money. This presentation will discuss some basic ideas about money management, point out some good ideas and some mistakes to avoid. Knowledge is power and can help you to make informed decisions about your money. An abusive relationship can cause problems in your financial life too. We want to help you deal with those problems. We will give you information about these money-related issues. Debt prioritization means deciding which bills are the most important ones to pay. If you cannot afford to pay all of your bills, you need to think about what to do with the money you do have. You should pay the most important bills first to make sure that you have food and housing. There are two main kinds of debt, secured and unsecured. You probably are familiar with the idea of secured debt, even if you didn't know that's what it was called. A creditor is anyone you owe money to. It can be a bank, a store, a doctor, or your next-door neighbor. Secured debt means that you gave the creditor a legal interest in something that belongs to you. And if you don't pay the debt, that creditor can repossess your property. The most common example is a car loan, where you put the car up as collateral. If you fall behind on your car loan payments, the creditor can take back your car. A mortgage loan works the same way. You put your house up as collateral for repayment of your mortgage loan. That is secured debt. Unsecured debt is everything else, every debt that is not a secured debt. You can see that a secured debt is easier to collect than an unsecured debt. The secured creditor has more protection, and you are in more danger of losing something if you fall behind on the payment of a secured debt. That is why the unsecured creditors are more aggressive in trying to collect their debts. They are in a worse position than a secured creditor. And that is why it is important to make a deliberate decision about how to spend your money, and not to just respond to pressure from aggressive debt collectors. The most important bills you need to pay are probably not to those creditors who bug you the most. Most unpaid debts are pursued by companies hired just to do the collection work. A debt collector is someone who is trying to collect a debt, but who is not the original creditor. The rules about what the original creditor can do are a little different, but we are talking here about third-party debt collectors. If you're dealing with an aggressive debt collector, make a detailed record of the phone calls you receive and keep all the letters you get. If they violate the law, you will need proof of their actions if you decide to fight back. There is always a legal deadline to file a civil lawsuit, and the deadline varies depending on your reasons for filing. Consult a lawyer if you believe your rights have been violated. A sample cease and desist letter is available at the end of this presentation. You can adapt this letter and send it to creditors to prevent them from calling you. Sending this letter does not mean you don't owe the money, and you can still be sued, but it will prevent the phone calls, which can be very upsetting. You may not want to continue to pay a mortgage if you are not the owner. It may be better to move and use your money to buy your own house or to pay rent in your own name to establish good credit. The mortgage loan is a contract between you and the lender, so even if your partner is supposed to pay the mortgage, you will suffer the consequences if the payments are not made. Make sure you know whether the payments are being made or not, so you can take action quickly if there is a problem. There are many programs now which can assist homeowners who have fallen behind on the mortgage. The best way to find out what help is available is to meet with a housing counselor to review your options. You can find a list of trained counselors at the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency website or by calling their toll-free number. All publicly regulated utility companies have special customer assistance programs to help low-income customers pay their bills. Call your company to apply for the program. This is not just the right to pay the budget payment, a choice which all customers have, no matter what their income. The customer assistance programs actually reduce your bill if you qualify for the program and make the payments you have to make. The utility company will not know that you are entitled to special protection as a victim of family violence unless you tell them. Utility companies sometimes can hold another household member responsible for paying a bill in someone else's name, which is why the special protection given to victims of family violence is important to know about. But the general rule is that you cannot be forced to pay a debt that is not in your name. If you separate from a domestic partner, you should make a list of the bills or accounts you share and decide what you want to do about each one. Make sure you understand how you will be affected by any changes. You do not want to close an account only to find out that you no longer qualify for something you need. Unpaid student loans can lead to serious financial problems. Talk to your lender about your situation if you are unable to make the monthly payments to see what options you have. Do some research yourself because some lenders may not tell you all of your options. If you are unable to work, you can apply for a discharge of the loan through the loan agency. Some loans can be canceled. For example, if the school you went to violated certain rules about recruiting students or went out of business soon after you attended. Do some research on those issues by going to the website shown here. As a last resort, people often think that bankruptcy will solve all their problems. Bankruptcy can be very useful in certain situations, but is not always the answer. There is a lot of misinformation floating around about bankruptcy, so it is important to talk to a lawyer or educate yourself on the subject. Just because your friend didn't have to repay any debt when she filed bankruptcy doesn't mean you wouldn't either. The individual facts of each case make a big difference in how bankruptcy works. There are several kinds of bankruptcy called chapters. An individual will usually file Chapter 7 or Chapter 13, while a business will usually file Chapter 11. A married couple may file a joint bankruptcy, but all other people have to file an individual case, even if they have joint debts with someone else. Chapter 13 is a more complicated procedure than Chapter 7, but it provides a way to stretch out repayment of debts that you want or need to pay. Depending on your income, expenses, and debt, you may not be eligible to file Chapter 7, and your only option might be to file Chapter 13. Filing bankruptcy is a significant legal proceeding with serious consequences that last for years. Okay, now what? How do you use all the information we've gone over? The most important thing you can do is to think about all your financial decisions. Don't just spend money without thinking about it. That doesn't mean that you'll never go out to dinner or buy something just for fun, but it does mean that if you spend money in that way, you did it because you could afford to do it and because it was worth it to you. One of the best things you can do for yourself is to avoid expensive mistakes. Use the money you do have wisely. Credit cards should be used only as a convenience for you, not as a way to buy things you can't afford. Unless you pay off your bill on time every month, credit is a very expensive way to pay for things. It may make sense to pay interest on big-ticket items such as a house or a car, because you might not be able to afford those necessary and important things without a loan. But paying interest on everyday items that you put on your credit card every month ends up costing you a lot more than you thought you were paying for those items. There are many organizations available to help you. The internet is a very good way to find out information, but be careful to rely on reputable sites. Take the time to write down what you spend your money on, then decide whether you can or should make any changes. You are entitled to a free credit report each year from each of the 3 major credit bureaus. Check one company every 4 months in rotation so you can keep an eye on information which is reported about you. Take action to correct any mistakes. If information is damaging but accurate, you can submit an explanation if you feel that will help. You should not pay anyone to help you fix credit report problems. You can take all the steps by yourself. You have financial goals. We all do. Maybe your goal is to clean up the financial mess you're in now. Maybe it's to buy a house or to send your child to college. Whatever your goal, you should think about it. How will you get there? Who can help you? Take control. And remember, knowledge is power. Neighborhood Legal Services Association is a nonprofit law firm providing free help to eligible clients. Please contact us if you want to apply for service. Individual circumstances make a big difference in how the law will affect you. This presentation gives general information, but you should consult a lawyer if you have a particular legal problem.